So here we have a form that would allow us to create a new website. What we'd like to be able to do here is provide two versions of this, right? The portrait version and the landscape version. Right now we have, they're both the same, right? So what we're going to do is that we're going to add a left-hand side and a right-hand side using the techniques that we already are familiar with, right? Of using grid systems to apply a left and a right-hand side. So let's do that. Let's go back to the implementation of the new website. We already have the right-hand side, right? So right now this container fluid, right, contains only the right-hand side, right? So let's inside here, let's create the layout of what we want it to look like, right? So we have a div that's going to have one row that's going to have two columns, right? The left side column is going to be like a third of the width, and the right-hand side will be 2/3 of the width, right? Or whatever you decide, right? So this might be on the left-hand side. We're going to have a row that it's going to be 3 is fine, and then on the right-hand side is going to be the remainder, right? So this is going to be 9. Right, so this is going to be left, and this is going to be right. So this is the way it would render, right? We have the left-hand side and the right-hand side, right? And what we want to do is put this form inside here, right? And this list, right? This list on the left-hand side, right? So let's do that. Let's grab the entire form that we currently have, which is all the way to here. So let's cut it and let's put it on the right-hand side, right? On the right-hand side. All right, so let's do that. There it is. So we have the form on the right-hand side, and on the left we want the list. All right. So let's do that. We already have that implemented on the website list. The list starts where? Let's see. And the list group right here. Right. So let's grab that. Right now, there's going to be a lot of copying and pasting, right, in this first assignment. When we get to the next assignment, right, a lot of these are going to be snippets of code that can be reused, so you can include content from one page included in another page, right? But for that, we need JavaScript. We need a dynamic content generation. We don't have that just yet. We'll do that next week. This week is going to be a lot of copying and pasting, right? And we're going to have to come back and rip out a lot of this copying and pasting and refactor this, right? That's very common when you're implementing, a prototype, right? Something that again to elicit requests from the user. All right, so I grab that list. I'm going to put it on the left-hand side, right? So that if you render this, it looks a little weird. So we might want to remove some of these columns here manually right now, and so that this is maybe 10 and this is 2, but we don't want the updates and the visits perhaps, and we might want to do the same thing for all these. So these are all 10 and 2s with no middle columns. 10 and 2. 10 and 2. There we go. So we have just those 2 columns and don't have the other columns in there. So there we go. So we have the left-hand side and the right-hand side, and it looks like pretty much what we wanted to do. The only thing is that notice that we don't want those to display, right, the left-hand side when this starts to become too small, right? We wanted to make sure that the left-hand side disappears, right, when the screen is too small, right? So let's work on that next, right? Right. So to be able to apply that behavior, we can use exactly the same technique that we used earlier, right? We can hide certain piece of the content, right, and show different others depending on the size, right? So we could this entire row this entire column, on the left-hand side, right? We just hide it, right? We can say that is going to be visible. Notice that there's a hidden version and there's a visible version, meaning I want this to be only visible, right, on large screens, but I don't want it to be visible in anything smaller than that, right? And you can decide when do you want it to be visible, but you can combine these together. So I want it to be visible only on large screens, right? And it's going to disappear, right, in smaller screens. So let's go back here. Let's make this 100%. And as I become smaller, right, and I become now a small screen, notice that it disappears, right? It disappears. But notice that the remainder, right, on the right-hand side looks kind of weird, right? Because I don't have my left-hand side being shown, and I'm still size 9, right? And I don't have my left-hand side, which was size 3, is now gone. So I need to somehow adapt to this, right? So I need to be able to say that I don't always want to be 9, right? I sometimes want to be 12, depending on the size of the screen. So I can go back here and say, that I don't always want to be 9, right? I want to be a 9 in large screens, right? Actually, yes, I want to be 9 in the but everywhere else, from small screens, medium screens, extra small screen, small screens, and medium screens, I want to be 12, right? So I could explicitly say that column extra small 12, right? And or for column small, I also want to be 12, and for medium-sized screens, I also want to be 12, right? I could explicitly say what I want to be at each device width, right? And that would work. So you notice that the left-hand side is disappearing, right? And then everything else is taking up the correct width, right? Or I can be more, I can be a little more, less verbose, right? I can get rid of these guys over here, because the way this works is that XS, the way you interpret this is that it's XS, I'm going to be a 12 for XS or larger, unless overwritten, right? So here it says that I want to be 12 or larger, unless someone else tells otherwise. This says that no. On large size, you are 9, not 12. Okay, so let's combine this. Let's refresh and notice that it behaves correctly for extra small all the way up to large. That makes sense? Everyone still with me? Okay. We have one additional item. Is that what happens if the left-hand side is too big, right, compared to the right-hand side, vertically, right? So, for instance, if I had for the line items on the right-hand side, for instance, I had something like this: li, website ABC with a class lists item. Okay. Right. So what if I had tons of these on the left-hand side? Right, something like this. Let me grab a whole bunch of these and let's just paste a whole bunch of these. Okay, if I refresh, notice that the screen becomes scrollable. Okay, and this is not nice, right? What we'd like to be able to do is to have the left-hand side scroll independently of the right-hand side, right? So that I can scroll the left-hand side without the right-hand side scrolling. See that? Right. So we'll do that. We'll take a look at that next.